time and time again, everything we go through in our community, just with the mass shootings recently, every other week there's a killing in our neighborhood. My brother Barry Axius does a great job of keeping us up to date of all like the self-inflicted wounds that we bring upon one another. How do
Yeah.
you unpack that, Jermaine? Seeing this 10-year-old girl shoot somebody for her mama, and you gonna tell me what she said after. It's not funny. You gonna tell me what she
Yeah.
said afterwards, but this is a high level of dysfunction, bro.
Yeah. So many moving parts. So without knowing the details,
Yeah.
got the Cliff Notes version, but I don't know if the mother gave the daughter the gun because she didn't want to shoot her. So she took the gun out of her own possession because she just wanted to fight. And the
Mhm.
daughter misinterpreted that and
Good
took it
point.
upon herself to shoot her. I don't know if the mother handed her the gun to shoot the woman.
Good point.
Do you know what I mean? So, because if she had a gun on her and she's in the middle of a fist fight, she may just be like, "Here, hold this."
Mm-hmm.
Like we're gonna get up on that grass and she gonna get these hands, and that was gonna be enough.
Good point.
Or she had different more sinister motives. So without knowing that, so that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the little girl, if this was the case of if the woman was getting the best of her mother and seeing her mother taking a L, that might have been what prompted her to then shoot her,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to being directed to shoot her. You know what I mean? Like there's in any event, there's so many things that was wrong with this thing from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
They said that this thing was based around social media nonsense. The mother walked down to the other place with her daughter to confront this woman about, Facebook beef.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That in itself right there. First off, you brought your daughter with you to confront another woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And the fact that you're confronting, she's in her 30s, the other woman's in her 40s. The fact that you're even having an altercation over social media stuff like that. I mean, there's just so much stuff that's wrong.
Real talk, bro. And that's a good point. The daughter could have took it upon herself and said, "You hurting my mama.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shoot you." But the problem I have is you brought a gun to the altercation. I don't think people realize the amount of courage a pistol gives any individual.
Yeah.
I think if your intent isn't to shoot somebody, you shouldn't bring a gun to an altercation. That's just leaving it open. Like that's
So my only difference with that is that you're walking to where she is.
Okay.
So for all you know, if somebody shows up at your doorstep to confront you, the probability of you having something to reach for is probably pretty good. So if you take it with you just in case, it turns that way. Like I said, my whole thing doesn't even start with that. It starts with, why are you even walking down there to confront a woman over social media?
Yeah.
But the whole the gun part is just turned so much into as an alternative. It's such a quick option for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need to go down there. Well, you don't know who she got down there with her. She may have 3, 4, 5, folks with her. And let me just go ahead and bring this thing with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just in case.
That makes sense. And like, to me, the parenting aspect of all of this is what shocked me the most. Like, regardless of how all of this played out, bringing your daughter down there, even let's just say, Jermaine, no gun was involved.
Yeah.
Just bringing your daughter down there to confront a woman over social media, we have to understand what this is showing our kids. Like, at this point, there's way too many aspects of our dysfunction. Like, of course, we know we receive it from the system, disenfranchised. All these things are still happening today. But I'm tired of seeing us make it worse. Like, I'm looking at, this is my opinion. This is Harrison speaking.
Yeah.
I see a lot of parents, Jermaine, who I look at them and say, "Your ass should have never had kids." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we have so many things, and like I said, moving parts, that we have a lot of. We have a lot of self-esteem deficiency through a lot of areas of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's why we try to buy our self-esteem and wear our self-esteem and drive our self-esteem. We talk about where we work at and all these other external things to try to speak up, to try to fill up those holes that we have. Mm-hmm. Well, when you walk around a state of self-esteem deficiency, any form of disrespect seems magnified.
Makes sense.
So then it turns it, why can't I just can't let him say this about me? Oh, she just gonna think that I'm the one to play with. Like we take things that are just like, because we're not so sure about ourselves, we care so much about the idea of somebody that when you're secure within yourself, you don't care. Like it's like so and so said such and such about you. Well, who's that anyway?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
what difference does that make my day-to-day life? They can think whatever they want about me. But when you're operating in that feeling of that self-esteem deficiency, you feel like you have to show up to every battle you're invited to.
Show up to every battle you're in. That's a good point, bro. But I personally think, Jermaine, just from being like a young parent, and I speak about my story a lot, but I think this plays a role in a lot of the dysfunctions that I see in my community. Like the self-esteem piece you was just speaking about. I think sometimes, all the times actually, we need to try to get a handle on this before the kids come. I think that self-esteem issue speaks to the fact where we see a lot of young mothers, because it's self-esteem. It's, I didn't get love. There was no father around. There was no one around to love me. So I'm going to have kids to create something to love me without resources, without a lot of the things necessary to make a family what it needs to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She was 31, the kid's 10. Let's just say all things equal. She was 19, 20 when she got pregnant with her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So at 19, 20, I don't know how together she was or wasn't, and what she could instill, because the daughter's argument was, she shouldn't have been talking about my mama. Like, she came down to address this, woman to woman. Like, the daughter had a very grown woman mentality to this, in the sense of she was regurgitating what she heard.
Exactly.
Like, she came down to confront her. She came down like she'd already been inundated and programmed with this mentality. So for us, when we start just bigger picture, moving away from them, like community wise, when we find these things, like, I understand you want to catch somebody before they have children. I mean, realistically, this is stuff that we want to raise up in our children before they start procreating. But just as frequently as possible. I mean, because realistically, we have people who have this mentality who do not have children.
Very true.
I mean, they're in their 30s walking around with this same thing. There's 40-year-old dudes who are still getting into fist fights because over some, what are you looking at? You know what I mean? And they may not have any children, but it's the same self-esteem deficiency. It's the same behavior, which usually leads to the same outcome.
And just looking at, like, not just so that situation to me is like a microcosm of a lot of bigger things that happen, because I see too often parents who do the friend thing where, like we were talking about at the show the other day, they're intertwining everything. Like, if I have a problem with a woman down the street, if I got a problem with your daddy, if I got a problem with Smud, you know what I mean? The water bill coming, I'm including you in all of these situations when, damn, we got to get away from that, man. It's your kids have nothing to do with that. And you're adding like unnecessary pressure to a child when they should be outside playing. They should be eating popsicles and worried about homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that 10-year-old girl was saying something to the effects of, well, my mom just came down to confront her woman to woman. That's not a 10-year-old mentality or verbiage.
Yeah.
She came to confront her woman to woman. That's not 10-year-old talk. Do you mean like that's grown folks programming stuff into these children, that and removing their childhood and trying to, when we talked about that live show, these are not small adults. These are children. It's not a 4-foot 40-year-old. It's a 9-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes when we look at our kids, we'll say stuff like, "Oh, they're mature for their age." Or, no, I mean, they're a kid, but they're not really a kid. She's like an adult. He's like an adult. He's responsible. She's responsible. And they're still children. As mature as we think they are, as grown as we may think they act, they're still children.
And I'm the reason, just melanated family, the reason why I talk about stories like this, we're talking about a story of a 10-year-old girl who shoots a woman based on the fact her mother was having an altercation with the woman. And Jermaine, like always, brought up some good points about which is real shit. The one that being in this environment, it's dog eat dog. It's survival. So you can know your environment and say, you know what, I'm gonna go confront her, but I'm going down there to her. I don't know who down there. Her cousin could be down there. That one chick could be down there who always got the gun. It could be insinuating circumstances to make you say, you know what, I'll put it in my bag just in case. The daughter, knowing it's in the bag, could have said, you beat my mama up, I'm gonna step in and shoot you. But to me, we gotta do better than this. Like the racism piece and the systematic piece is a thing, everybody, but we have a say-so in all of this. This breaks my heart when I look at I look at the mass shootings. I look at our young brothers killing each other over nothing. I think, okay, damn, who gonna come in and help? It don't seem like nobody from the outside finna come in and assist us.
No.
So we got to start looking at each other and having conversation with each other. Like, let's start early. And these is babies before we even have kids, before your little kid have a kid. We need to start restructuring how we view ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So can't put cart before the horse. So a lot of times in our community, the first thing we got to start with the babies because adults are stuck in their ways. And I'm not trying to convert some 40-year-old who's been living a certain way, whatever. Okay. So you start talking to the 4-year-old and the 5-year-old who lives with the 40, 45-year-old that you don't want to talk to. How do you think that works? So this idea that you can't just sit there and say, you know, we do these mentorship programs and stuff, and these kids will come be around mentors and hear positive influences and positive words, and then go back home to the toxic environment and all the bad program that they had to deal with. We can't, yes, incorporating the children is necessary. You know, putting it in the hearts and the minds of these babies is necessary, but we can't just act like we just cutting ties with all these grown folks walking around because we're so, well, they're 30 years old. They're gonna be stuck. Yeah, and they're gonna be here for another 50 years. So we just gonna act like they not like. so we need to talk to everybody.
We need to help everybody.
Everybody.
And I'm getting to a place of like complete love where you can't save everybody, but I'm trying to do my best mentally to say, okay, how can we use said person?
Yes.
Because some of the people in our neighborhood, I know for sure, they're dealing with generational dysfunctions. Yeah. And if you trace these generational dysfunctions back, it go way back to how we came here and all the fucked up shit that happened. So shouldn't they receive like a little bit of grace, Jermaine, opposed to just saying, you 40, you're stupid, throw you away, we can't do nothing with you. Shouldn't we be like, wait a minute, they are part of this same system that created all of us, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. If you can reach a 40-year-old and they can understand that the world is not just the way they've seen it, that's a testimony for the 10-year-old coming up. Like, nah, man,